USA Ultimate is proud to present the 2016 US Open Ultimate Championship, and it's time for the women's semifinal. Denver Molly Brown makes its debut on the big stage against Seattle Riot, the perennial semifinalist knocking on the door of national power. We're at Kingston, Rhode Island's Meade Stadium, and earlier today, Brute Squad knocking off Scandal, Boston over DC 15-7. We're about to find out who will face the defending national champs in tomorrow's US Open Championship game. Hi again, everybody. With Ian Toner, I'm Evan Lepler, and the story from Molly Brown, they knocked off Scandal to wrap up pool play, and then they knocked off Fury in the quarters, denying the legendary program a spot in the semis. So it's Denver Molly Brown and Seattle Riot. Your thoughts as we head into this semifinal?
Something we haven't seen before, Fury not in this setting. I'm expecting Riot's depth to take off the top-end talent from Molly Brown in this game.
Well, it's going to be interesting to see these two teams match up. They played a couple days ago. It was close until about 10-9, and then Seattle closed out strong. But Molly Brown has added so much talent. They're the rising team that everyone's talking about.
Yes, between the women's team and the women's masters team that competed at London at WUGC last week, 8 players on their roster won gold medals. That experience has to translate to this setting for them to do well.
Alicia White, Octavia Payne, they're both stars, but Claire Chastain, the 2013 Callahan Award winner, she is often the quarterback of this team and the leader and the captain.
Yep, the UNCW product is the primary target for the offense. They're usually centering the disc to her, relying on her to break the mark and get things going.
Claire Chastain set to guide the Molly Brown offense. They're going to try to knock off this really strong team that is even more talented than last year, if it's possible. Now, they're not at full strength this weekend, and we're not going to see Sarah Surge Griffith. We're not going to see Hannah Kawhi or Rachel Bradshaw either. But, you know, Khalees Cardenas may not be talked about often as one of the best players on Riot, but she showed at the World Championships just how good she is, and she's a veteran on this team too.
She has tons of experience, tons of speed and explosiveness. You're going to see her getting loose in the deep space, and also she'll do some of those things that might not translate to the highlights, matching someone step for step to shut down their first or second cut and taking them out of the play.
This is going to be a battle between friends. Lots of known commodities on both these teams, but Molly Brown and Riot are adversaries today. The winner faces Brute Squad tomorrow, and the opening pull between Denver and Seattle is coming up next. Star, the official disc of USA Ultimate. Discraft Ultra Star is now available at over 1,900 U.S. retail locations, including all Dick's Sporting Goods and Hibbett Sports stores. By Discover Newport. Choose your own adventure in Newport, Rhode Island. Get the inside scoop on where to stay and where to play at discovernewport.org. And by USA Ultimate, the national governing body for the sport of Ultimate in the United States. For more information or to find out where to play Ultimate in your area, visit usaultimate.org. Molly Brown looking to knock off Riot and continue its path. Lindsey Cross, dynamic cutter in the Molly Brown offense. Lisa Pitt-Caithley joining Molly Brown this year, perhaps their biggest off-season addition. Lizzie Lurie and the ageless Alicia White, joined by Chastain and Payne in the handler core. Alex Odie, known for her great play for Oregon Fugue, joins Cardenas, Heidi Mercer, Kelly Vegas Johnson, Rory Titcomb, and Angelica Boyden. Riot coached by Andy Loveseth, but he is still recovering from Worlds. Gwen Ambler, the longtime Seattle Riot player, played for Fury for a long time before that. She is leading the charge in the sidelines, and the wind has absolutely picked up. Ian, how will these teams handle that breeze as we get going on what otherwise is a gorgeous Sunday afternoon?
Well, Evan, you and I were testing out the throwing conditions down on the field before this game. Not only is it swirling, there's also some stiff upwind, downwind conditions. I think that's going to help certain zone or junk sets depending on which way the defense is attacking.
I have to say, Ian's throws were a little shaky. They weren't as perfect as usual as we tossed on the field before the game today.
You know, I'm going to blame that one on the sunscreen that was on my hands.
Well, that's a rookie mistake then, putting the sunscreen on right before you throw instead of giving yourself the appropriate time. It's okay, you're young. Kelly Johnson dishes to the middle of the field. We're underway. Riot is in the white, Molly Brown in the blue. Lisa Pitt-Caithley tracking down Angelica Boyden, and now it's Cardenas. So many players on both these teams were involved in the World Ultimate and Guts Championships. The women's team and the women's masters team. There's Charlie Mercer, we saw earlier today.
Coming in on 3.
It has been a Seattle Sunday so far here in Rhode Island. Seattle mixtape on Universe over Minneapolis Dragon Thrust, and then in what was not quite an instant classic because of the sloppiness, but in terms of the late drama, it was fantastic. Seattle Sockeye over San Francisco Revolver, and well, the team's trade turnovers very quickly, and a drop from Claire Chastain that you don't see too often.
Definitely one she'll want to have back. As Lauren Boyle steps into the lane to block Rory Titcomb's inside shot.
Lauren Boyle with a D for Molly.
Well, these two teams are both feeling out the wind right now.
Kelly Johnson coming over to pick up.
Multiple turnovers from each side, and that will be a foul. This will be a matchup to watch, Ian.
No contest on that.
Octavia Payne and Kelly Johnson.
And I think we could say that about a number of other ones to come in this game, but two of the more intense competitors on both rosters sizing each other up.
Johnson to the end zone, got it. Knifing it in there to Charlie Eide for the score.
And as best we can tell, Evan, based on our experience with the throwing conditions right before the game, Riot is working downwind just a bit in these conditions, and it makes that inside throw that much easier. If you're throwing upwind, those inside shots, if they're not released properly, tend to pop up a lot more easily.
So Kelly Johnson, instrumental on this point in terms of moving the disc. And this is going to be a grind. Both these teams are very capable of making a lot of highlight reel type plays. This game might not be about that.
Probably going to be a battle of persistence and determination.
Seattle Riot in Pool B.
Got a hand.
Lost the Universe point game to Scandal, but still won the pool as the three-way tie at 3-1 between Riot, Scandal, and Molly Brown. Molly Brown coming from the 3rd spot to knock off San Francisco Fury. And if Molly Brown could put together a run here, you know, it's possible they could knock off Scandal, Fury, Riot, Brute Squad. The path has been laid out for them. They're halfway through this gauntlet in the women's division.
As you say, Evan, it's possible. Do we think it's likely? I would say it's less than likely.
That's an impossible road, seemingly. Paige Soper with the disc and a stoppage downfield.
Pick was called. Soper, as we get another quick look at this turnover, Chastain throwing into a poach. And Soper actually, she's a travel nurse. That's her profession, and she actually lived in Denver for this offseason and moved back to Seattle just in time to play with Riot.
And she played a little pickup with members of Molly Brown?
She certainly did, and I'm sure there were more than half-hearted attempts to recruit her and get her to stay in Denver and compete with Molly Brown for this season.
You might remember Paige Soper from College Nationals a couple years ago when the Ohio State Fever women's team under Deanna Ball went the distance, winning it all in Cincinnati. Paige Soper and Cassie Swafford were the stars of that team, and of course Cassie Swafford has joined Paige Soper on Seattle Riot this year. Swafford spent a year in North Carolina with Phoenix. And Chastain from North Carolina. She's coached the Colorado College, or University of Colorado women's team, I should say. That's a nice shot from Lisa P. Lisa Pitt-Caithley, former San Francisco Fury deep cutter, launching it long to tie it up at 1.
Chastain and Pitt-Caithley already having some good chemistry. I think that's a matchup that Pitt-Caithley's going to win over Soper more often than not. And then Pitt-Caithley finding Lizzie Laurie deep. A nice downwind shot for this Molly Brown offense. And we're tied up at 1.
All of the talent that Molly Brown has added in recent years. It started with Claire Chastain, and then some of that scandal core, Octavia Payne, Crystal Davis, Alicia White, they make the switch from the capital to the Rocky Mountains. And now Pitt-Caithley this year. They're certainly in the conversation for being the best. Do you think they are capable of putting it all together to win it all this year? Do they have that core in place?
Well, that is the million-dollar question. I think they have the individual pieces to actually get it done. I think it's a matter of how well those pieces and that core can actually gel together and play as a cohesive unit.
I suppose they're 1 point into the semifinals on July 3rd. It may take a little time to figure out exactly what this team can be. Kelly Johnson will pick up the disc, and Dina Slattery on the mark. Right downfield to Mercer. She's got Cardenas, and already Riot in the end zone. It's possible Cardenas' shot was deflected.
I also wouldn't be surprised. That was a downwind shot. I wouldn't be surprised if the wind kind of pushed it into the ground more than she was expecting after the release.
Upwind, here comes Molly B. Slattery, push pass, it's somehow caught. Dory Franklin kept it alive, broke the mark. Ashley Daly Morgan gets the reset and into the end zone. Nice footwork in the front of the goal line. Maggie Chen hauls it in, and that's a break for Molly Brown.
So going back to this Riot turnover, Cardenas looks upfield, and I don't think she had a firm grip on the disc as she released it. The wind also pushed it down. And I'm going to say Dory Franklin was actually the MVP of this point for Molly Brown. A number of great upwind throws, breaking the mark, hitting the fore side, laying out to save possession. Without her, I don't think they get this break. Franklin, a veteran of the All-Star Ultimate Tour, organized by Seattle Riot's Chyna Titcomb, coming back for its second campaign this summer, making 9 stops around the country.
Quite a few alumni from that tour in this game and in the women's division. One name you won't see, unfortunately, is Megan Cousins, who had a hamstring injury yesterday and will not be cleating up for the semifinal game today for Molly Brown. Tina Snodgrass, another very talented player, out today. She hurt her knee, she tweaked her ankle in the aftermath of the World Championships. Good to get a little time off if you can, although frankly I've been pretty impressed in really every division, seeing all the athletes that competed at Worlds come out here with similar intensity and not show any weariness whatsoever from the trek. I mean, a lot of the players traveled in Europe for a while and came straight to New England after being in England or Iceland or Portugal or wherever they might have journeyed to. Good defense there from Lauren Boyle, preventing the break. Julia Snyder able to break the mark this time. Shira Stern, Cassie Swafford back in the center. Good disc movement here. The wind has maybe died down a little bit, but Riot is going into the breeze. Swafford gets the reset. Alyssa Weatherford. Weatherford, the longest tenured member of Fury, is playing this weekend. Gives it to the ageless wonder, Dominique Fontenette, in the end zone. Dominique Fontenette in her 5th year with Riot. Won championships seemingly everywhere she's been, except Seattle. And they won a world championship a couple of years ago with Riot.
Yeah, you and I were talking with Riot coach Gwen Ambler before the game, and someone who has just as much as experience with Dom, she doesn't know how she's still doing it, able to perform at such a high level after so many years.
Give the assist to Soper, the first turnover free point of the game. Dominique Fontenette is one of the nation's first Callahan Award winners. And she is 41 years young, still going strong. Out of Stanford and Tufts. You mentioned Gwen Ambler. Gwen planned to call it quits as a player before last season, but she was literally on her way to tryouts, planning to be an assistant coach, and told Andy Loveseth, what do you think about me playing another year?
About 20 seconds.
20 seconds!
So she added the 2015 season to her playing resume. She was on San Francisco Fury from 2001 to 2008. Won 3 championships with Fury, and then made the switch to Riot. She had moved up to Seattle long before that, but had been still playing with Fury despite being roommates with longtime Seattle Riot captain Miranda Roth. Gwen Ambler said she's been on the sidelines with a clipboard many times, calling lines. She was a captain when Riot didn't have a coach. Doesn't feel too different. Nice disc movement here from Denver.
Yeah, great patience working through the transition zone that Riot came down in.
Here's Opie Payne. She had 1 point in Molly Brown's game against Scandal, where she had 3 layout Ds in the point.
And one of them on Sandy Jorgensen, no less.
A mistake here. How did it happen?
Chastain looking for the break opportunity. I think that's the right look. Gotta wonder if Alicia White could have pulled the trigger and laid out there.
At a first throw drop.
5, 3,
Riot's Kirsten Groover couldn't come down with it, and Payne picks up. Oh, cheeky lefty backhand to Chastain for the Molly Brown score.
I think more and more throwers and more players in general are finding that having that short offhand throw is becoming a necessity. As we see the inside shot, Johnson just can't quite connect. Payne picks up, and especially impressive is the fact that she's essentially throwing that offhand throw upwind. That much more challenging. A nice shot from Opie Payne. The new face of the girls' ultimate movement to Claire Chastain, one of the regional outreach coordinators for that same movement for which they're sporting headbands.
A lot of passion from that duo. First goal for Claire. He's really become a leader in the ultimate community across the country. You can say the same for Opie Payne.
Thank you.
Octavia Payne, born in
20
Tokyo, went to the
seconds.
University of Pennsylvania. Won a couple championships with DC Scandal, dethroning San Francisco Fury. And the last 2 wins for Denver Molly Brown have come against Scandal and Fury. Those 2 programs have won 9 of the last 10 national championships in the women's division. Think about that for a second. with the 10th being Boston Brute Squad, and that was last year. Nice grab up the line. Rory Titcomb beginning her 7th season on Seattle Riot. And the swing out of the reach of Soper.
Right, they're over.
See what this Denver D-line can do off the turn. It's Applegate to Payne. Applegate lets it rip. And it's caught in the end zone.
Lisa Picaithley thinks she's scored, but I think there might have been a pick call. Let's take a look at the observer discussion here.
And now they're waving off the call and signaling score. That's a break for Denver Molly Brown on the Applegate huck to Picaithley.
And Applegate essentially getting power position behind the disc, and then Picaithley beating the young star Jacqueline Verjou deep. Molly Brown now 50% in terms of converting break opportunities. They are 2 for 4. And that's what's given them this early 4-2 lead.
Lisa P is so new on the squad, she doesn't have her own jersey yet. Tina Snodgrass generously lending her jersey to Lisa P, although I think it making good vibes for number 21.
On D, let's think about if we can triangle the back of their stack. Let's try to do that. Okay, so we have a little bit of help on each other. Okay, so that's a lot of like jargon, blah blah blah. Like take this next 10 seconds and make eye contact with as many people as you can in this huddle. 'Cause, like these are the people that we play this game for. This is what we're working for. This is who we have fun with. Okay.
I got everyone.
Oh. You didn't get snap. We're awesome. We're awesome. Let's go out there.
Everything is awesome.
I'm continually amazed by how relaxed teams can be in huddles in the midst of intense games. I have to ask you, have you ever had a Johnny Bravo huddle quite like that?
I think that's perhaps a bit more positive and optimistic than things have been. We've certainly taken moments to remind ourselves of, you know, our purpose and our friendship and camaraderie. But on a more serious note, you know, on the surface, obviously, everyone is expressing a calm demeanor and expressing support for their teammates.
On the line, 34 on the line.
There have been situations that tense huddles that I've been in when, you know, I'm trying to put forth a calm face, but beneath the surface, my heart is beating through my chest.
Sure.
It's not quite fake it till you make it, but you also need to display the right message to your teammates to help instill confidence in them.
Oh, and Paige Soper wide open, not a defender within 20 yards of her.
5, 3, 2, 1.
Denver was down 1-0 on a 4-1 rally at the moment. Chastain to Payne. Chastain surveys. Man, she breaks the mark easily. And it leads to a score.
Nice.
Or was there a screen? Yep, pick call downfield on the toss to Laurie.
Chastain breaks the mark easily, but that was a great continue there by Bacher as well.
Fiona McKibben on the mark. Coming in on 2.
Chastain to Payne, rising for the catch. Sometimes it only takes 2. Payne and Chastain combining for the score.
And that's just 2 players working in small spaces. Let's take a quick look at this Riot turnover. Oh, and you know, I understand that was a stone cold drop, but when you look at that replay, you saw Paige Soper turn upfield before the disc was in her chest, in her hands. And I think that's what did her in. And then Chastain and Payne in these small spaces. There's not much more that any defender can do. You're trying to take away so many options at once. And there are so many more throws that are available in that small space that are viable. Opie Payne now 2 for 2 on the lefty backhands into the end zone.
Molly Brown 3 of 4 in the red zone after a shaky start. Molly Brown turned it over 3 times in the game's first 2 points. Molly Brown only 1 turnover in the last 5 points here. All smiles on the Denver sideline. Well, we should learn from what we've seen today that a 3-goal deficit may not mean that much. Far from insurmountable. We saw Seattle Mixtape down 13-10, come back and win at 15-14. And then we saw Seattle Sockeye up 11-7, give up a 5-1 run. The game was tied at 12s, also tied at 13s, 14s, and 15s before Sockeye got the dramatic win. Better disc movement this time from Riot. Kelly Johnson, marked by Applegate. And snuck it through, but Weatherfoot could not hang on.
Riot turnover.
Right now, Ian, it feels like Denver is the team that's the perennial power, and Seattle's the team that's experiencing some nerves in these conditions.
And I wonder if that's what's separating things here. Perhaps Molly Brown just feeling more comfortable in the wind.
Easy reset to Slattery. Oh, she was open on the under, but Matthews with the fumble.
And that's Megan Ives,
right,
a veteran of Colorado Colley, and she's actually playing with a cast on her left hand. Believes she has a broken finger, making it a little more difficult to catch those discs.
And her first year with Molly Brown as well.
And a nice offhand backhand from Verjus to get that reset to Johnson.
Verjus has not had her 20th birthday yet. It is absurd how good she could become. Jacqueline Verjus just finished her freshman year of college at Dartmouth.
She's already starred on the All-Star Ultimate Tour. She's already played in a national final. She's represented Team USA on women's junior teams.
She'll be headed to Poland in just a couple weeks.
Sky's the limit for Jacqueline.
So it snaps a 3-0 run. Verjus makes it 5-3. Earlier today in the first women's semifinals, filmed by Ultiworld. It'll be available in their Ultiworld Club library, which is just a treasure trove of great games. Remind me, I need to get my subscription before the early bird deadline runs out. I got a couple more days, but the clock is ticking. Brute Squad over Scandal 15-7. Boston has been very impressive. They were tested by Fury in pool play, but really untested by anyone else.
And you know, this is kind of, in essence, a series of home games for them, right? This tournament is right in their backyard. They don't have to travel quite as far. They're used to this setting. As we see a turnover here, as Alicia White's throw goes behind Lisa Piquetley.
Which is a nice change of pace because there hasn't been a national tourney like this in the Northeast in quite some time, except for Northeast Regionals.
Exactly.
Or the Boston Invite, which has long been held in Devens, which is not all that far from here. Could drive there from Meade Stadium and have plenty of gas to spare. Riot looking for a break. Johnson gets the reset, contested by Payne, and that was a throw into traffic. Did not work out, intended for Gina Titcomb.
Lauren Bacher rising to the challenge, sees the throw going up to the inside lane and gets there to block it.
Oh, and Gina Titcomb takes it right back, canceling that throw from Bacher.
Perhaps just a bit too greedy on Bacher's part. Of course, hindsight is 20/20, but she might have been better served to pump fake.
Boyden threw it behind Cardenas, but a foul was called. No contest, it appears.
Foul coming in on wood.
Let's see if this was a foul.
Boyden pivoting up, and there's the contact with the torso, the forearm as she's throwing. No question. Glad Chastain didn't contest that.
There's the speed of Cardenas in the small space that you talked about in the open, Ian. Virtually unguardable. Not the tallest, but perhaps the quickest player in the women's game.
She's kind of like lightning in a bottle out on the field. She goes from 0 to 100 as quick as anyone in the division. And she just took Alicia White to the four-side cone. That's not an easy mark to beat. One of the most storied players in the women's division.
So back-to-back scores for Fury, and it's 5-4, the first break for Riot.
They're now 1 for 4 on break opportunities this game. 25% a bit lower than they'd like, but if their defense keeps working well, presumably they'll get a few more opportunities.
Couple assists for Kelly Johnson. Fiona McKibben on the line with Molly McKeon, Alyssa Weatherford. There's Jacqueline Verjou, Julia Snyder. It is amazing how much talent Riot has added over the past couple of years. I mean, we're talking a lot about Denver Molly Brown's additions, and those are notable in large part because in the last half decade there haven't been a lot of established national women's players moving to the Rocky Mountains. And then when Claire Chastain did it, it changed, and with Opie Payne and Alicia White, etc., it feels like every year Seattle gets this new superstar from some other corner of the country, in both men's and women's and mixed divisions for that matter.
Yeah, just thinking about this year, we've seen someone like Cassie Swafford join Riot. We've seen Simon Montague rejoin Seattle Sockeye. Also Trent Dillon and Hussein Carnegie.
What about Cassie Swafford? Won the Callahan Award a couple of years ago. Molly Brown working it up the field and turning it over. If you're wondering where the 2015 Women's Callahan Award winner is, she's not playing club because Alika Johnston has joined the Peace Corps. You told me she's in Senegal?
Yeah, she departed this spring. She was a longtime fixture on the Scandal roster, helping them win their first championship with Jenny Fay, Sandy Jorgensen, and Opie Payne, who is now playing here with Molly Brown.
Alicia White, too, the first championship and the second championship. Oh, did she make the catch in bounds? The observers say she did. That's Molly McKeon. A spectacular effort.
Great catch. We saw her kind of change feet mid-air. As the left foot. Oh.
She had that right foot or the left foot down.
Need to get another look to be able to definitively say whether the observer got it right.
And again, it looks like the left foot might not have still been down when she made the catch, but alas, Seattle has tied it up. Verjus, like Cardenas, tough to guard in the end zone for different reasons, perhaps, but still making an impact. Verjus with 2 goals on the Seattle 3-0 run to tie it at 5.
Yeah, Verjus using her size and frame to command respect as we get another glimpse at Molly McKeon. This is a great effort to toe the line. The question is, oh, she stops rotation there, and that left toe looks like it could still be down.
It's impossible to say. That would not be overturned, I don't think, if there was replay review. And it's Weatherford finding Verjus. All 5 scores for Riot have come in the red zone. Early on, they were trying to throw it a little bit deeper. The wind was denying them those opportunities, so they're doing a nice job, especially recently, of working it down the field.
So we go from 4-1 Molly Brown to 5-5 here in the first half. A game of runs.
Seattle scored first. It was 1-0, and then a 4-1 run from Molly B made it 4-2. And then 5-2, I should say. And 3 straight for Riot. See how Molly Brown responds. And the disc landing just barely out of bounds. Another look at this Denver offensive line. Downfield, you can see Cross and Pitcaffley. Four-person cup almost came up with a D.
Swafford got a hand on that one, but just enough rotation to keep it going, and Slattery saved possession.
Chastain colliding with Boyden. Going in this direction, you would think that forcing Denver to make a lot of these short throws would be a good idea. Let the wind wreak havoc.
The wind is that extra defender all over the field, making any deeper or over the top shots that much more challenging. A lot of physicality from this Riot Cup.
You notice that they changed the mark when they got it close to the far sideline?
Yep, that's a strategy, trying to trap only when they're on one particular sideline.
Able to get the swing across to Cross. White back to Payne. A third successful high release lefty from Payne to Chastain.
Who had a stall? Well, you saw, you said one. Yeah, I said coming in 2. Okay, coming in 2.
Nice job in the front of the end zone, and Alicia White was in. So this time, Payne and Chastain get some help from one of the great legends in the sport, Alicia White. 34 years old, White, and there's Swafford getting a fingertip on the disc, but Slattery keeping it alive.
And with the exception of that throw from Payne, that was a mistake-free point for the Molly Brown offense. No small feat when they are facing these challenging wind conditions. It's got to inspire a lot of confidence in that offensive unit and in the entire team moving forward.
Alicia White was teammates with Gwen Ambler for San Francisco Fury in the mid-2000s. White was part of 5 of Fury's championship teams at Club Nationals and added 2 more national titles to her resume with DC Scandal. She's won several world championships, including a women's Masters gold medal this past week.
Just it's hard when they're coming in from like way far behind. Yeah, for the 3 to get there without there being. Yeah. So.
I think for the most part,
I bit once, which is when we got broken.
Yeah.
I felt like I had a really good shot at it.
I think if they're doing it from really tight, like.
We hear Shira Stern, Cassie Swafford, Julia Snyder, and I believe that was Angelica Boyden, all discussing the effectiveness of their cup, talking about the right moment to commit and pinch in and take away a crash. And those are the tweaks that these teams are going to try and make to make their zones or defensive looks more effective throughout the game.
Gwen Ambler was telling us before the game, this is not the tournament to just take what you do and do it every single time. This is a tournament to experiment and try to figure out what will work for you going forward. So in a way, having a windy game is a good thing on this stage. Well, good offense there from Seattle Riot. Culminates in the hands of Rory Titcomb. Another product of Dartmouth College. She was excited when Jacqueline Verjou made her choice to play for Princess Layout.
Great possession saving grab from Soper. Nice job to break the mark. If she has to throw that high release backhand any further than 10 yards, I don't think it works, especially in this wind. But in that short distance, I think it's going to work.
Paige Diddy Soper in her 2nd year now with Seattle Riot. Originally from Cincinnati. And a look at Rory Titcomb. Really one of the backbones of this Riot team for several years now.
thank you.
Getting to play with her younger sister, Gina, who had a fine defensive play earlier. Remember a few years ago at this tournament with Gina on Brute Squad and Rory on Riot, they were going head to head, which was fun too.
I'm sure they like being teammates better than being competitors.
We're denied a possible Stubbs rematch in the finals of the men's division, with Revolver falling to Seattle Riot by 1. We'll see John Stubbs later today. Picathley's shot found by White. She just kept waiting patiently, and then she got a backpack from her teammate Opie Payne.
And that's just a veteran move by White, not going up and holding position. Because as the defender, you know, there is a philosophy for bodying out and needing to make sure that the offensive receiver can never make a play. But when you're in that trailing position as the defender, you have no choice but to go up at some early moment and try to get a hand on the disc or try to force the offensive receiver to go up early. And White's been in that situation a million times. She just holds her ground, lets the disc come to her. Very veteran poised move.
And really nice use of the body, as you say. Groover had nowhere to go.
Second deep shot assist from Lisa Pitt-Caithley. She's connected on 2 hucks from the other side of midfield for goals so far this game.
So ever since Seattle tied at 5 We've had 3 turnover-free holds from the offense.
5. Thank you. 20 seconds!
Game began with a Seattle hold. So Denver will receive to start the second half. A break here, and they'd be up 8-6, and then would receive to start the second half.
That's what some like to refer to as the cheater's break.
Except there's no foul play about it.
You're exactly right.
Here's Shira Stern. She was very impressive throughout the 2015 season, but unable to track down that swing.
You saw Julia Snyder point to the chest and take responsibility for that one. Didn't really give Stern a chance to get to that disc.
Molly Brown's got a couple timeouts to burn in a situation like this if they need it. Joe Durst, the first-year coach of Molly Brown. And perhaps a timeout would have been a wise idea.
Lauren Boyle doing her best to toe the line there. Unable to reel it in. And now Verju streaking deep.
Hit come the laser beam flick. Connecting with McKibben. Tough grab from Titcomb. Swings it all the way across the field. Here's Verju.
Great work by the Riot offense, able to keep those breaks cascading to the width of the field. Especially important in these windy conditions.
Snyder distributes to Titcomb and to the end zone. Was there a call? Just coming right back. Verju was wide open by 20 yards.
Coming out 2 here.
Apparently Boyle got run through a screen.
Okay, coming in on 2.
Riot in search of the equalizer. And Fontenette connects with McKibben. 7-all.
So Molly with the chance to break and go into halftime with an 8-6 lead. Unfortunately can't connect. Slattery's throw goes a bit too far out of Boyle's reach. And nice use of the break side and good patience in the red zone. Riot's able to convert. Ooh, Taggart got a hand on that disc, but McKibben able to make the grab under pressure.
Like a little whiplash on the landing perhaps too. So Riot needs to break here to make it a virtual tie at the half because Denver is going to receive to start the second half. So Molly B will be receiving the next 2 pulls, a chance to play back-to-back offensive points separated by 10 minutes. You see who's on the field. Claire Chastain will play pretty much every offensive point for this team in big games. I am curious to know if whether Opie Payne will continue to play most offensive points or whether they might try to use her more as a defensive motor and have her catapult the D-line and give her some rest when the team's on offense. Because that's a role that she filled masterfully for a long time for Scandal. Scandal had Alika Johnston and Jenny Fay, Allison Maddox. I mean, they had a lot of other, not that Molly Brown doesn't have players around the disc, but it's just an interesting thing that Molly Brown will figure out as the season goes on.
No, and I wouldn't be surprised to see that happen later this game. I think they're going to use her in a similar manner. Even Claire Chastain and Alicia White as well.
Well, Payne rushed it a little bit. She knew it was not correct as soon as it left her hand. So an opening for Riot.
I think that's a completion on a day without this wind. But a blading outside in flick into the wind, really challenging to complete.
grab by Charlie Mercer. And it appears she was fouled by Pitcaithley.
Pitcaithley almost undercutting that swing and getting the block before Mercer was able to reel it in.
Oh, Chastain went flying. And she caught Miley McKeon on the way by.
So I think McKeon started, and McKeon starts to slide, and I don't think Chastain is counting on McKeon sliding by the time she takes off. And then Chastain's hips contact McKeon's head as she's going to the ground.
Molly Brown, you get a blue card. Get a TMF. Dangerous play.
Incredible that McKeon still made that catch.
Sustaining a lot of contact to save possession, and you heard the observers chiming in there. Claire Chastain gets a
yeah, that's perfect.
blue card for Molly Brown.
Walked by Molly McKeon as we were walking off the field and up to our booth, and she had a big smile on her face. She was ready to go, and that just seems to be the type of attitude she always has. You saw the thumbs up and the big smile. And it doesn't appear there are too many hard feelings.
Blue, do you
Great
need
to see that
one?
McKeon is okay. Great response, not holding any ill will toward Chastain, and I'm sure when she goes back and watches this replay, she'll feel the same way.
Shira Stern replacing the injured McKeon. And the first throw, is it a foul? Johnson called one. We'll see if Payne agrees.
So foul. Coming to me. Contest or?
I contest.
All right, foul contest. Stall.
Kind of a bummer, because I'm curious what the observer would have ruled there.
Agreed. I think Payne, they were both jockeying for position with their elbows as Johnson rounded that corner, but I don't know if Johnson ever had her hand on that disc.
Bailey Zahnizer, another Oregon Fugue product. Titcomb to the end zone, and Riot takes half. Charlie Mercer with the score. Seattle was down 5-2 and rolls on a 6-2 rally to take half on serve here in Rhode Island.
We see Titcomb beating Bacher up line, getting herself into power position, and then Mercer just
basically the same throw that Payne tried to do in the opposite side of the field, going in the opposite direction. Much easier going downwind.
Absolutely. Mercer beating Pitcaithley to that fourth side cone as well. I don't think Pitcaithley knew that Titcomb was in as close as she was in a power position when the disc went up.
Ladies and gentlemen, I ask you please direct your attention to the USA Ultimate banner.
Charlie Mercer was coaching Seattle mixtape earlier today. She said she has planned mixtape practices around Riot practices. There is, I was gonna say an excess of Frisbee in her life, but I'm not sure that's possible. There's a lot, an abundance perhaps, of Frisbee in Charlie Mercer's life these days. And Riot comes back from a 3-goal deficit to take half 8-7. Winner faces Brute Squad tomorrow in the championship game, scheduled for, I believe, 12:30 here at Meade Stadium. Denver Molly Brown, coached this year by Joe Durst for the first time. a man that you have had the pleasure to play for at the U23 international level. He's listening now, so be careful what you say about him. Coach Durst, was Ian Toner a good player to have?
Yes, but I can't take credit for him. That's all Virginia.
Right.
That's not me.
This first half had its ebbs and flows to it. What are the conditions like down in the field?
Swirly.
And how do you feel you guys have handled them?
Pretty well.
Looking ahead to the second half, your offense perhaps had a few hiccups coming into the second part of this first half. What's the message to them to get back on track?
Oh, throws and touches.
All execution that they can handle?
Yes.
Are you trying to answer every question in one word?
No, I don't think so. Is that Evan or Ian?
Does it matter?
Yeah, no, I was just wondering. You know, we're all chatty Cathys together.
Sure. As you look forward to the second half, you guys obviously be trying to win your third straight game over a really tough opponent. What did it mean to you and this team to knock off Fury yesterday?
A lot. It was a big hurdle for Molly Brown to get over. Meant a lot to a lot of people.
Coach Durst, we appreciate your time and wish you the best of luck in the second half.
Thank you, boys.
Joe Durst, in his first year leading Denver Molly Brown, his team had a 3-score lead and now a 1-score deficit, but Molly B receives to start the second half as we continue from Meade Stadium on the campus of the University of Rhode Island. Riot over Molly Brown by 1. It's day 3 and game 3 of the U.S. Open here in Kingston, Rhode Island. The breeze has picked up as the day has progressed, and that's been pretty similar Friday, Saturday, and now on Sunday. Evan Lepler, Ian Toner, Riot leads 8-7 in the half. It was 2-2, and then it was 5-5, but we didn't get there exactly trading points.
Both teams went on a number of 3-goal runs as we see Molly Brown getting off to a strong start here on the backs of Opie Payne, Claire Chastain, Lisa Picatley, and this great deep shot from Paige Applegate. Some more great red zone work here. Chastain finding Payne, and Payne is just going to continue with an offhand backhand to Chastain as well. And then Riot went on its own 3-0 run. Great patience working upwind. You see the wind bending those throws. Jacqueline Verjou getting on the board.
Verjou was big during Riot's comeback.
And Khalees Cardenas, her trademark speed, beating Alicia White to the cone. Weatherford with a nice inside shot to Verjou. Great pressure from Boyle, but she's on an island. And then Lisa Picatley doing her best to help the Molly Brown offense respond and get back on track. Alicia White using her body to maintain position and reel that one in. Fiona McKibben making another contested grab despite Taggart's pressure. And then Sheena Titcomb finding Charlie Mercer into the end zone. And after digging themselves out of a hole, Seattle Riot has an 8-7 lead.
Second half of the second women's semifinal coming up. Riot 8, Molly Brown 7. On serve, though, Denver set to receive to start the second half. We're joined down on the field by Paige Diddy-Soper in her second year with Seattle Riot. Paige, what are the conditions like down there on the field?
Well, it's pretty windy. It's kind of an upwind, downwind game, but it's pretty strong crosswind as well, so it's pretty swirly. You notice a lot of our swings are actually hitting the ground. Yeah, it's kind of swirly wind conditions down here.
As an offensive thrower, which way do you prefer to go right now?
I've been playing a lot of kind of upwind. You know, the swings are really hard going to the home sideline, so you know, I think I do prefer going upwind though a little bit.
Paige, this tournament's not over yet, but what has the story been for Seattle Riot this weekend? What have you guys learned about yourselves at the U.S. Open?
We're trying out a lot of new things. We have a whole new offense system this year, so we've been practicing that. We also have a lot of players who were at Worlds, so we're kind of taking into consideration our bodies and making sure we don't have any injuries from all those Worlds players. Yeah.
Paige, you obviously spent this last offseason in Denver working with, playing with, training with a lot of these Molly Brown ladies. What does it feel like to be competing against them now?
Honestly, it's fun, and I think that's something that's so great about the sport is that you get to play against people that you know. So it's a lot of fun.
And is it fun to play for Coach Ambler rather than throwing to her on the field?
Yes, definitely. I think any type of playing with Gwen is awesome.
Cool.
So.
Good luck in the second half. Thanks for joining us, Paige.
Thank you.
Paige Diddy Soper out of Ohio State, now a member of Seattle Riot. Her team's up 8-7. Molly Brown has the disc as we start the second half in a moment. Seattle Riot up by 1. Molly Brown about to receive the disc. Alicia White and Claire Chastain each with a couple of scores. And Octavia Payne, like we've seen her do in a Scandal jersey, often the engine of her team's attack.
Yeah, 2 of her assists going to Chastain, and nice short, small spaces there in the red zone. And comparatively, taking a look at the Seattle scoring chart, a little more distributed throughout the rest of the team. That depth and that full team effort coming to show here in the first half.
Some names notably absent, of course. If Cousins or Snodgrass were playing, you'd probably see him in the Molly Brown stat sheet. Could say the same about Kawhi, Bradshaw, Griffith, etc. Riot has 7 on the line, as does Molly Brown. Denver in the blue, trailing by 1. And Dina Slattery centers the disc. Interesting to have Claire Chastain on the sidelines for this offensive point for Denver.
And taking stock of these conditions, I think based on Paige Soper's feedback, this is still more of that downwind offense. So perhaps they're saving Chastain for the upwind points and trying to let their other unit handle the downwind opportunities.
You'll see that more and more in Ultimate. Instead of having an O-line and a D-line, you might have an upwind line and a downwind line. Slattery push pass for the score. It worked. Sarah Taggart was there. And we're tied at 8.
Slattery, a very confident player, very confident thrower. Not sure if that pushback is going to work if she's operating in an upwind environment. But she just sneaks it in there to Taggart. She realized that there was not a lot of space to complete that one.
Pretty good look on the face of Sarah Taggart. Taggart in her second season with Molly Brown, originally from New Haven, Connecticut. And Dina Slattery with another assist. Born and raised in Indianapolis. She went to Indiana University. Played for Chicago Nemesis for a time. Not surprisingly, Slattery with her throws capable of playing on this upwind line. And this is a really strong defensive line here for Molly Brown with Payne and Pitcaithley and White and Chastain and Cross and Slattery. Lauren Boyle as well.
You see Chastain kind of sagging out into the lane, but that first throw is what she wanted to stop, and it still got off. But we see a turnover here from the Riot offense.
Charlie Eide could not connect with Mercer. And now here we are. If Molly Brown could get the upwind score here, it could really change the tenor of this half. Slattery takes a shot. Cross on the second effort could not come down with it.
Molly turnover on the deep one.
Johnson to Cardenas. Khalees creating space with that pivot.
Great active mark on the part of Slattery, marking her Team USA women's team teammate.
Johnson to the sideline and to Cardenas in the end zone for the goal. A couple of narrow gaps that Riot slices through to punch it in.
So Slattery's huck perhaps a bit challenged by the wind, needing to throw a big outside in huck up into the wind, never an easy proposition, and then Cardenas just using her speed to beat Slattery up the line. And ever the graceful sport, Cardenas congratulating Slattery on good effort after that defensive turnover.
And you might say about that Johnson throw, well, she kind of popped it up, but that was her way of floating it in that downwind situation. If she leaves it flat, it could take off and go way past Cardenas.
Exactly. Great understanding of the conditions and use of the atmosphere by Kelly Johnson.
You ever heard her tell you the story of how she got the name Vegas?
Oh, I've heard 5 different stories about how she got the name Vegas.
They're all good stories, though. I've heard 1 or 2 of them.
Still trying to determine which one is true or which pieces from each story are actually true.
I'm not sure she really knows which story is completely true.
The legend is now greater than the truth.
The truth has stayed in Vegas, I think. Trailing by 1. Molly Brown's Lauren Bacher to Chastain. To Riot's deep Jacqueline Verjus.
Not sure if Chastain saw Verjus lurking there, but she gives and goes.
Gina Titcomb to Paige Soper to the end zone. Zonizer can't make the play. And Knee Win assured that Zonizer would have no chance for a greatest.
And unfortunate that Riot can't capitalize on this opportunity, but that's why Paige Soper is on this line. She's one of the few people we've seen all day be able to consistently hit or at least threaten with those upwind shots.
There's no question about it. She has separated herself in the women's game as one of the throwers capable of that. A mistake there, however. What are you seeing here from the Riot defense, Ian?
Well, looks like a bunch of sagging off the side handlers into the lane, and that's forcing some quick movement after they get perhaps a small opening, and Bacher's continuation to Alicia White just grabs the wind and sails out of bounds.
Right through the hands there. Fiona McKibben with a drop. Chastain knifes the flick to Pitcaithley. Wide open. Bacher to Win. Here's Payne. Saw a target deep, did not put enough on it, and yet it was still caught. How about that?
How many times are we going to say it today, Evan? Catch your blocks.
I'm not sure you credit Alicia White's veteran savvy for that one.
Nope.
Although she was ready for the deflection.
And I don't know if I agree with this decision from Payne. She releases it fairly late when White is already standing deep, gives 2 defenders a shot at it. By all accounts, should have been a block. And off the hands of Zonizer into White's hands. And we think back, Riot had the disc multiple times on this point. They're now just 3 for 8 on break chances today.
Alicia White with her 3rd goal. Octavia Payne has had a number of assists. Some with a left hand, some off the hands of a defensive player. She's a confident competitor. She's got, much like a great shooter in basketball, not a ton of conscience in terms of she's very confident in the next shot she'll take as well. Certainly won't hesitate, you would think. Mercer in the middle, marked by Laurie. Now Johnson to Cardenas on the sideline. Slattery nearby. Boyden. Pretty good mark there from Boyle, but the around to Johnson sets up the cut by Mercer.
Coming in on 4.
It's a fun game. We've been tied at every number since 5. We're tied at 1s, tied at 2s, then each team made a 3-0 run, and we've basically been trading points ever since. Mercer breaks the mark. Fontenette missed what looked like an open Cardenas, and Boyle comes up with a D on the goal line.
Boyle understood Fontenette's cues better than Boyden did, diving into that inside-out lane when Boyden didn't even move, and Opie Payne, with 4 assists, is going to call timeout with the disc on her own goal line.
So it's a game to 6. Here's the turnover.
Just a miscommunication there between Boyden and Fontenette. I think even if Boyden keeps going, Boyle's read it well, and she's still going to get that block.
You're absolutely right, though. It looked like the throw was intended for Boyle.
I'm gonna look downfield for like a second, and then I want to say right away. You want Bert? Your center to. Oh right. Yeah. Do you want Bert or Chip? Let's go Bert. Okay.
Cool. We're gonna run the spear cut.
Cool.
Let's have Dean setting the stack to come off.
Okay. Keep that stack pretty sharp on the back, yeah? Because we're going upwind. So keep that deep portion open. Cool. Perfect. Chilio on 3. 1, 2, 3. Chilio. Do it.
20 seconds to set. Okay.
Yesterday, during the Molly Brown scandal game, I was eavesdropping on a scandal huddle with Opie Payne's old coach, Alex Dutchy Gesquier, and he was sharing the message that in the wind, going upwind, in order to maintain dangerous, they couldn't be too deep. They had to stay pretty shallow with the cuts coming from the back, and then they were true threats to go deep or to come in. And you heard Opie Payne talk about a similar thing. Don't set up too deep. We want to maintain that option.
And in these conditions, that kind of defensive look where you're not really taking a deep cut seriously is only intensified, as we saw Payne sticking to her call. Hey, I'm only going to look upfield for 1 second, and then I'm going to turn for a reset, as she finds Chastain, who continues to Slattery.
They've worked it halfway down the field. Laurie to pick Caithley, run into by Fontenette. She plays on, throws it through the traffic. White to Slattery. Well, can Molly Brown punch it in? They've gone 65 of the 70 yards. Nice little drop off there, but way to stay with it. Opie Payne to Claire Chastain again. That is a break. Nice offense out of the timeout.
I want to find 2 players able to guard Chastain and Payne in small spaces, because we haven't found them yet this game. As we saw the Molly Brown offense work confidently out of that timeout, making the most of this opportunity. And for the 3rd time this game, as Chastain and Payne work the disc back and forth, and you see McKeon pull off just for a second to perhaps help and switch while Kelly Johnson is recovering and getting to that space, but it's not enough. She drops off, and then Johnson doesn't follow her all the way to the cone. And 3rd time this game, we've seen that short space red zone connection between Octavia Payne and Claire Chastain.
They've been lethal in that red zone. So sometimes, Ian, you see the timeout call interrupt an offense's flow. Clearly this time it gave Molly Brown a nice breather and the ability to work it down the field. Molly Brown has been really efficient in the red zone because of Opie and Claire. They're 7 of 8 in the red zone for the game. Important point for Seattle Riot's offense.
Working upwind, so to speak.
Weatherford to Boyden, launching for Verjus. Got it! Jacqueline Verjus delights the fans with a spectacular bidding grab.
Drilling way to the end zone for Jacqueline Verjus and the Riot score.
And just when we were talking how difficult some of these blading upwind shots have been, Jacqueline Verjus saves possession, scores. That's the first time Riot has scored from outside the red zone today.
Well, you want to give your best players a chance to make a play. Boyden to Verjus, that might have been the best angle right there. You saw the full leaping extension from the 19-year-old phenom. Her second year on Seattle Riot. Andy Lovesith told me she probably could have made the team as a 17-year-old, but they haven't had someone that young on the team, so they allowed her to watch from the sidelines. She's not watching anymore. 3 goals in this semifinal, and we're tied at 10. So back-to-back upwind scores. And you'll see that upwind line for Molly Brown back out there.
Anchored by Chastain and Payne and Dina Slattery, with Lindsey Cross, Alicia White out there as well, and Lauren Bacher centers to Chastain.
Groover on the mark to Slattery. There's a level of junkiness to this defensive look from Riot, and so far Molly Brown carving it up.
This quick disc movement, really the key to success. Nobody holding the disc for more than 2 or 3 seconds.
And Pitcaithley could not come up with it. Rory Titcomb there defensively for Riot in the last gasp effort.
Pitcaithley taking an extra second to read it. Not sure she was aware of how quickly Rory Titcomb was closing.
That's a really good D by Titcomb.
Undercutting Pitcaithley, finding a way to get there first. And now Riot has a chance to break.
Zonizer looked upfield, looked backfield, looked upfield, now backfield again, and finding Titcomb. 4 separate looks on that stall count. Soper bluffed a deep shot to Zonizer. And now Stern finds Zonizer right back to the threatening Stern, who shoots it to the end zone, and it's caught. Kirsten Groover bids for the score. Shira Stern reacting like she saved her butt a little bit on that throw that was more out to space than it needed to be.
And it's so tough to put these touch throws out there when you're going downwind, because they die more quickly than you expect and sometimes carry further than you expect. But Zonizer finding Stern, and Groover, despite the cast on her left hand, able to lay out and save possession with the right hand. And at this juncture in the game, who knows, maybe that's the decisive break that ends up winning the game for Riot.
Groover and Stern, both products of University of Washington Element. Groover a few years older. 11-10 now. Seattle Riot lead Denver Molly Brown. You know that Boston Brute Squad coaches Ari Jackson and Mike Zalisk are watching closely, having a look at both these teams. One of them will be their opponent tomorrow. And Brute Squad hasn't played either of these teams yet this tournament, so it'll be a new experience for them regardless. Brute Squad winning the pool that had Brute and Fury at the top. Riot, Molly Brown, Scandal all clumped in that same pool. The women's division, the only one that had quarterfinals, as opposed to the men's in the mix, which was a round robin straight into semis. Of course, in the men's division, there were a couple of virtual quarterfinals. Sockeye and Florida United was a virtual quarter, won by Seattle. Chicago Machine Madison Club was another virtual quarterfinal, which Machine took care of against the men of Madison.
So looking ahead to the potential matchups here for tomorrow's women's final, as we see a Molly Brown turnover after lots of great patience moving it up the field. The last time Brute Squad met Riot was the 2015 title game, which Brute Squad won decisively. And the last time Brute Squad met Molly Brown was that year's semifinal, which Brute Squad also won decisively. So we have to think Brute Squad's going to be the favorite, no matter who emerges from this matchup.
I don't think there's any doubt about that. As Johnson can't come up with it. There's also an element to the fact that, you know, we are an hour from Boston, an hour and a half at most, and I think Brute Squad is much more at full strength than other teams, although Amber Sinecrope, who fractured a bone in her wrist at Worlds, has not been playing. Of course, Lauren Bacher's sister, Emily Bacher, who's been a longtime leader, captain of Brute Squad, she's not playing this year. Pregnant with her first child, due in December, was on the sidelines supporting her team, but certainly a key defensive piece for Brute Squad through the years. Boston still incredibly talented, though.
We have a pick behind the play.
Denver trying to equalize this one at 11. We are about 5 minutes away from the soft cap as they do so. Dina Slattery with a little jig after she catches the tying score.
And that's just great use of the break side, as we're going to see this inside shot, a nice high release flick from Claire Chastain. Not many throwers in any division have that in their arsenal. And then a nice continue from Boyle to Slattery up the break side. Titcomb doesn't even have a chance to fully set the mark.
As the defender of someone in the stack, how do you guard that open side while still respecting that cheeky break side shot from Chastain? Do you have a strategy when you're playing to do that?
Well, there are so many schools of thought. More often than not, I like to position myself on the foreside, but still close enough to be touching them. And I like my hips to be kind of perpendicular to their hips, so that I can either take off deep if I need to, or take off underneath if they try and make a quick attack cut towards the disc. I've also got a fair amount of faith in my other defenders that, you know, if they start to take off deep, one of them will be able to pick up and help me in that deep option.
That was one thing I was really impressed with from both the USA men's and women's teams, considering they hadn't been playing together for all that long. At moments, their team defense was stunning in the way they switched and helped each other out. Turn from Riot gives Molly B a chance.
Great hand block from Lisa Pitcaithley, using her size to knock away that swing.
Lindsay Cross to Payne. Chastain. And Pitcaithley wasn't open, she clears. Laurie wasn't open, she clears, and the reset goes to Payne. Chastain being chased by Snyder. Getting ready for the pain cut. Johnson denies it. Lauren Bacher back to Payne.
And you'll see her quickly getting out of the way. She knows that this set is exclusively for Claire Chastain and Opie Payne to work together. The fewer people you have in that space, the more space you have for those two to work together.
Chastain breaks the mark. Alicia White broke free of Cardenas. Now, as good as Chastain and Payne have been, Alicia White downfield has made one clutch grab after another, and she has had a sense of clutch timing to make the play.
So what made this all possible here was that block by Pick Caithley on the swing, and then Chastain shakes Snyder to catch that disc and then really breaks her mark to find White coming to that break side cone. Really not much Cardenas can do there. She never really had a chance at that one. I think she was placing more faith in the mark to make sure that that around throw wasn't going to get off.
Molly Brown so steady in the red zone throughout the game. 9 of their 12 goals have come in the red zone. They're 9 of 10 in those opportunities. Can you put into perspective what this win would mean to Denver Molly Brown to beat Seattle Riot in the semifinals of a tournament like this? Sure, it's early in the season, but it seems like, I don't know if it's a changing of the guard, but it feels monumental.
Well,
if it happens.
You know, it feels like more and more women's teams are leveling up, right? It's not just the Fury Riot game anymore that people think is going to decide the women's title or who are the power brokers in the division. Brute Squad obviously winning the championship last year. Molly Brown adding more pieces, adding more resources to become a more competitive unit. It's just indicative of the growing skill and depth in the women's division.
There were many that thought when they looked at the quarterfinal brackets that we would get Fury Riot in the semifinals, but Denver Molly Brown eliminating San Francisco Fury. They're trying to do the same to their longtime rival Riot. Soft cap just went off. After this point, you'll add 2 to the higher team score. Still to come tonight, Machine and Ironside. Winner gets Sockeye tomorrow. Winner of this one will play Boston Brute Squad on Independence Day.
One of the more active marks you'll see. Ashley Morgan shutting down as many options as possible for Paige Soper, but Riot still finds the end zone into the arms of Alyssa Weatherford.
Weatherford in her 10th year on Riot, a longtime leader in the Seattle community. Just shy of her 30th birthday. She's someone who played Riot at a very young age as well. Came back from an ACL injury a couple years ago. And it's a game to 14, tied at 12.
Yeah, unfortunately, multiple players on both teams in this game being impacted by that same injury. Kirsten Johnson, out for Denver Molly Brown, and Sarah Davis also missing for Seattle Riot, still heavily involved in the Riot leadership.
You see this upwind line, Pitcaithley, Payne. Boyle has been out there regularly, Cross with Chastain, of course, and White. Seattle Riot responding with Goudreau, Stern, Johnson. Charlie Mercer launches the pull. Julia Snyder out there as well for Riot. And this definitely has a junky look to it. Mercer is the deep, deep, not guarding anybody but the middle of the field to the left of the picture. Now Lizzie Laurie threatens deep a little bit, forcing Mercer to react. This line, though, has seemingly been impervious to this defense. Very patient, very steady, very tight with the throws. And Riot now matching up, bouncing out of the zone, but a pick will be called here. This will come back.
Pick call. This will come back here. Coming in on one. Kira Stern on the mark.
Payne takes the shot. Pick Caithley runs it down. Wonder if she'll try to get Tina to give her number 21 for the rest of the season.
It seems to be a good luck charm so far this game. A number of goals, deep assists, a hand block.
How about the game Opie Payne has had? That's another assist. 6 of them so far, a half dozen dimes for Opie. So Seattle Riot has its backs up against the wall collectively. Riot needs a hold and a break to win. Joe Durst trying to pilot this team into the US Open finals. Joe Durst played for Denver Johnny Bravo, played college ultimate at Lewis and Clark. Spent the last few years living in London, pursuing his graduate degree in applied linguistics. Coached several USA U23 teams. You had the pleasure of playing for him. What was your lasting memory of playing for Coach Durst?
I think it's just his
goofiness. I bet.
His goofiness. He's also very direct and straightforward. He'll be a straight shooter whenever you ask him to be, and even when you don't want him to be. And that kind of feedback only helps you grow as a player.
Well, if Riot scores here, the real winner is the audience on ESPN3, because this would be the 3rd straight game that went the distance to a universe point here on semifinal Sunday at the US Open. Ian, ever since you showed up, we've been getting all these great games. First at College Nationals, and now here at the US Open.
I wish I could say I had something to do with it.
Weatherford. Boyle active on the mark. A pick was called downfield, and they'll sort out when it'll come back in. Nice throw there from Weatherford. Titcomb to the brink of the goal line and into the end zone. Nice footwork from Fontenette. 13 all, game to 14 for a berth in the final versus Brute. Be interesting to see who is on the lines here for each team at this stage of the season.
So Weatherford with the inside shot to Titcomb. And Titcomb then breaking the mark to McKibben. And McKibben kind of sizes this throw up for a second. Would have expected her to throw it right away. Molly Brown defender Christina Mickle also had an extra second to reel in and stop that around as well. Riot now 12 for 17 in the red zone today.
They've missed some chances. But nice awareness and field sense from Fontenette there. She'll be on the sidelines for this game's final point. Forced to become an uncomfortable spectator. Quick look at the lines. I believe that was Boyle with Payne and Cross. Chastain, Slattery, Pitcaithley, and White. Alex Odie gets the nod with Kelly Johnson. Sheena Titcomb, Angelica Boyden, Khalees Cardenas, Charlie Eide, and Charlie Mercer. Here we go. Riot matches up here defensively. Mercer was still lingering deep. Now she'll get closer to Lisa Pitcaithley, although they're still kind of bracketing defenders deep. And Cardenas intercepts the mistake from Payne. Johnson thought about it. Nice grab there by Sheena Titcomb to keep the disc alive.
Coming in on 2. Coming in 1.
Seattle with a couple timeouts. Wonder if they'll elect to use any of them.
Another tough grab. Riot trailed by as many as 3 in the first half.
Great job by Eide communicating with her fakes.
Oh, another spectacular bid near the goal line. This time Boyden, and into the end zone for Mercer. Riot has done it again. An impressive performance from Denver Molly Brown, but it's the perennial power from the Pacific Northwest advancing to play Boston in the finals.
So here's Payne. She just locks in on Chastain and doesn't see Cardenas peeling off Bacher. And see, those are the kind of plays, you know, all right, maybe that's showing up in this highlight package, but that's not the impressive layout or incredible sky. That's the defensive awareness that makes a difference in the game.
Oh, there's the incredible layout from Angelica Boyden. Titcomb made a nice catch, and then Boyden made the nice catch, and then threading the needle. Look at that.
We got the men's game coming up in just a little while at 6 o'clock.
We have been blessed with another great battle here at Meade Stadium. Big day for Charlie Mercer. Wonder how she'll handle her July 4th. She's coaching in the mixed final at 10. She's playing in the women's final at 12:30.
And I'm sure she wouldn't have it any other way.
And she's still coaching, even after the win. Seattle Riot was down 13-12, but holds on the shot to Fontenette and then wins on the dish to Mercer. Riot 14, Molly Brown 13. We'll be back to Rhode Island in a moment. The 2016 U.S. Open Ultimate Championships are presented by Discraft Ultrastar, the official disc of USA Ultimate. Discraft Ultrastar is now available at over 1,900 U.S. retail locations, including all Dick's Sporting Goods and Hibbett Sports stores. By Discover Newport. Choose your own adventure in Newport, Rhode Island. Get the inside scoop on where to stay and where to play at discovernewport.org. And by USA Ultimate, the national governing body for the sport of Ultimate in the United States. For more information or to find out where to play Ultimate in your area, visit usaultimate.org. Another thrilling semifinal here on Independence Day Eve in Rhode Island at the U.S. Open. Riot over Molly Brown 14-13, and we're joined by Khalees Cardenas down on the field. What a fun game this was, Khalees. What has the past couple weeks been like for you?
Oh, it's been really busy. Had a lot going on with Worlds, and then coming straight here, it was a little exhausting. So yeah, it's been kind of full.
Yeah, how do you transition and refocus from, the highs of winning a world championship to the very first game and the very first tournament with your club team?
Lots of sleep. Yeah, lots of naps. The Boston crew is actually really, really helpful with that. I stayed with Shira Klein between getting to Boston and coming to Providence, and she was really awesome. She plays for Brute Squad.
Of course.
Yeah.
Khalees, a lot of intensity down the stretch in this game. What was the conversation like on the line before that final point?
We were actually confused as to whether or not it was actually double game point. We were just like, I don't know. So we just decided to focus in and play intensely.
And talk me through your thinking there right before you got that block on Opie. You guys were transitioning, you were picking up Bacher, but then you still had your eyes on Opie and were able to make the play.
Yeah. I had no idea who I was on in that point. So I think that helped a little, maybe. I was supposed to come down on a handler, and then they had Dina and Bacher. And I picked Dina, and then Dina went downfield, so I was kind of like, what do I do? But yeah, that was I'm glad I kind of saw Opie looking for that little give-go that she's been doing, so kind of picked it up.
Khalees, we've seen a lot of highlights from Seattle Riot in the past. Today we saw Jacqueline Verjou make another jaw-dropping play, and how about Kirsten Groover's layout with one hand on the toss from Shira Stern?
Yeah, my team's amazing. They are amazing. Kirsten, she has a broken finger, by the way, but she made that grab. Jacqueline, her back's been hurting her, but she made that play. Everybody's just giving 100% of the time.
So you stayed with Shira Klein. Brute Squad showed you some great hospitality.
Yes.
Now you're going against them tomorrow in the final. What are your thoughts?
Friends! I'm excited to play them. I know they've been doing really well during this tournament. But yeah, I'm just excited to have another competitive game.
We know you'll have a smile on your face, but we also know that you're playing to win. Khalees Cardenas, congrats on the comeback win today. We'll see you tomorrow.
Thank you.
Seattle Riot's Khalees Cardenas had the D on the final point. Our Discraft plays of the game involving her teammates Jacqueline Verjou and Kirsten Groover. It's hard to pick from one of these to show you, so we'll show you both.
A really challenging upwind throw and an even more challenging grab, but if anyone's going to make it, it'll be Jacqueline Verjou. And then Shira Stern, a little give and go. Kirsten Groover with the broken hand, cast on her left hand, able to persevere, lay out, reel it in with the right hand. Those were two huge scores for Riot in the second half.
Gwen Ambler, the first-year coach of Seattle Riot. What was it like for you during the most intense moments of this one on the sideline?
This was a pretty intense game. It was a little stressful trying to figure out exactly what defenses we were going to be able to play to try to get blocks out of them, because they were pretty stingy on offense. What combinations on offense we were going to be able to have going, moving the disc upwind. There was a lot of things to think about in this game, but it was really fun.
So speaking of all those strategic considerations, how did your game plan change at halftime?
You know, to be honest, our game plan actually didn't really change at halftime. We just were talking about executing a little bit better. I think towards the second quarter of the game, in the later half of the first half, we started actually clicking things and getting some of those breaks back that we'd lost early. That was just actually executing and playing really tight defense and making their windows smaller.
Gwen, we'd love to ask you more questions, but they're waiting for you for the photo behind you. So we'll see you tomorrow, and we'll talk more then, all right?
Sounds great. Thank you.
Gwen Ambler, the head coach, today, alongside Andy Loveseth for the season. It'll be the 1-seed Brute Squad and the 2-seed Riot, 12:30 Eastern Time tomorrow here from Meade Stadium in Kingston, Rhode Island for the 2016 U.S. Open Championship in the women's division. We have had 3 straight Universe Point games. No pressure, Boston and Chicago. It's Ironside Machine coming up, but for now we say so long. Ian Toner and Evan Lepler have been with you all day long. 34 minutes until Ironside Machine coming at you on ESPN3. You can watch the entire replay on WatchESPN.com or the Watch ESPN app. And of course, it's been a presentation of ESPN.